Hello and welcome to Yerushalmi Berachos Daf Pei Hey Amud Aleph and Beis in the Oz 100 print. Happy Tu B'Shvat, and we're going to try to actually tie that in as kind of a siyum on the 8th parak, because in the 8th parak it is Machlokes between Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel, and that actually brings us to the Mishnah about Rosh Hashanah Leilanus, which is Machlokes Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel. Now, is that just random? No, it's actually not random. It's actually very specific. So in most of these Machlokes and Kiyadua, Beis Shamai is always the very, very machmir, and Beis Hillel is always very makel to a certain degree. And in halacha l'maisa, we know we paskin like Beis Hillel in Olam Hazeh, and Lasad Lavo Kiyadua will paskin like Beis Shamai. And in most of these cases, there's always a chumrah that's being expressed. And I want to actually go over those shitas, and then Rich Shem will finish the 8th parak, and we'll give a quick aura on the 9th parak, which will be relevant throughout the 9th parak as well. Very fascinating thing. So, okay. So the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says that Echad, on the first day of Shvat is Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan. It doesn't say plural, it says for the tree, which is very strange, because all the other things, Malachim, all the other things are plural. Kedivrei Beis Shamai, like the words of Beis Shamai, and the Beis Hillel says it's on Tu B'Shvat, the 15th. Now, there's a very shver lashon as well, because normally throughout Shas, it always says, Beis Shamai Omrim this, and the Beis Hillel Omrim that. Kedivrei Beis Shamai, what are you talking about? Like the words of Beis Shamai? What words are Beis Shamai? Okay, so many of the Mefarshim, including the Bnei Yissaschar and others, they all say that the word Ilan is actually a hint that it's actually not Ilanos. It's referring to the Ilan, which is the Eitz Hadas, which was probably an esrog, even though we know we talked about this, that there's many Mefarshim that discuss what it was. We don't know what it was, etc., etc., according to one Shita, but many people say that it was an esrog, and we know that you're supposed to daven on Tu B'Shvat for an esrog. Now, let's explain what's going on over here. Why is Beis Shamai still arguing about when Tu B'Shvat is? L'chora, Beis Shamai is right that the sap is going up at that time. L'chora, Beis Hillel is right that the sprouts are coming out on the 15th. So which one is it? Okay, so there's a sefer written called Kovitz Yisodis V'Chakiras HaShalim by Rabbi Achikam Keshes is his name, and he quotes a phenomenal thing, and I just want to go through it a little bit, and then it really explains this whole parak, but it also explains about Machlokes in Shas, about Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel, and of course it'll tie into Tu B'Shvat, which is in Yana Diyoma. Hillel was always looking for chesed. That's why when the ger came to convert, Shamai was always midas adin, pushed him away, dachal amas abinyan, the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Laman Aleph, I believe, whereas Hillel brought him in, and he told him, I'll teach you the whole Torah in 1 foot, no problem at all. He looks at the Gashmi, what's in front of you. He looks at the pole, the action that's there. For example, Rosh Hashanah Leilanus is Tu B'Shvat because that's when it actually starts growing. On Chanukah, he says you got Malik L'fnei Yom HaYotzim, which is Bepol. It actually is day 1, so you light 1. Day 2, you light 2, etc. By Shtar Amad Ligvos, a shtar that hasn't been collected yet in Shas, he holds Lav Gavedami because it's not considered collected because it just was never taken. And if you are choshev, you think to be sholech yav b'kadon b'mitzia, daf mem gimel beis, you're patur because you didn't actually steal it. Whereas we'll see Beis Shamai holds that he's chayiv just for having that thought. Beis Hillel holds that the eretz was created first. I once had a whole explanation about this based on their Ramban, not for now, but basically he holds that eretz is the practical part wherever something comes out, and he always goes after what's in front of me. If we look at Shamai and Hillel's Hillel Shem Shamai, and for Shabbos, it's the same exact thing, not for now. Shamai was always focused on Midas Adin, the Ruchnius, the spiritual aspect of things. He goes after the Koach, he goes after the potential, even if it hasn't been brought out. For example, Rosh Hashanah Leilanus is Echad B'Shvat, because that's where it has a potential, it starts to grow then, so therefore that counts. On Chanukah, he counts Yom HaNechnasim, he says, it's the 8th day, all the Koach, all the power of his Yantiv is now here, and then he's the Smai B'Holich, which is often what spirituality, sometimes for us, turns into, or if Dessler's a whole shtickle on this about growing versus sometimes fading, not for now. Save it for Chanukah. And he holds Shar Ave Ligvos, Ha'ome Ligvos, is Kagavoy Dummy, it's like it's collected already. He looks at the Bekoach, not the Bepol. I'm sorry, looks at the whatever is actually potential, he doesn't care if it didn't actually come out yet. And he holds Shemayim came first because it's spiritual, and Yerushua was a Talmud of Hillel, and he held that Benisa Nivra Olam because that's actually when Lamaisa physically it was created. The pole, that's when Hashem created it. Tosas Rosh Hashanah Daf Chav Zayin has a whole conversation about this. And Rav Eliezer was a Shamosi, and he holds that B'Tishrei Niva Olam, and therefore it was Allah Machshava, and Allah's Machshava was Din. Therefore, that's why we actually paskin like Beis Shamai for Rosh Hashanah is actually Midas Din, which is Rosh Hashanah, which we'll get to in a minute. And he's not Mavro Midosav as much, and what's it called? And also the Tana Shalach Noi, you have a whole machlokas there. Rabbi Eliezer goes against all the chachamim because again he was a shamosi and he had that fighting spirit in him. Now there is Rav Daniel Gladstein pointed out in a beautiful shir and also in his book on Tu B'Shvat of these ha'aras right now. So there's Shmuel Engel, Marash Engel, during World War I. He was a great Gaon, and he basically says like this, that we find by pregnancy that when a woman is expecting a child, the first trimester is the first third. It's called hooker uber. The first third is when it comes to be. And for Shemitah, for example, a third of a growth is considered that now it's part of the ground and it grew during Shemitah year. Also for cooking, Machal ben Drusai is according to most Rishonim a third. So a third is when something takes root. So what's a third of a year? There's 12 months in a year. 1/3 of a year is 4 months. So after 4 months, that's when we see the kochos of Rosh Hashanah coming out. So what's Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah was Tishrei. Was the first day of Tishrei. So Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves. Those 4 months have now passed. Now Shavat is Rosh Hashanah Lilanos. It's when the pole of the year starts to come out. So what's the 15th? So Rosh Hashanah, which we call Aleph Tishrei, that's according to base Shamai. He follows Din, and that's Minas Hadin. It's a time of judgment. But what happens after Rosh Hashanah? We have the days of love, which is the Yom Tovim of Sukkot, Rishon L'Cheshvan Avonos, because we're in a place of love for Hashem, the Av of Hashem, which is what the Sukkah and the Lulav is all about. It's a hug from Hashem, the Sukkah. So therefore, according to Beis Shammai, he holds that you follow Tishrei, and you go after Tishrei 4 months. That's when things are taking root. That's Rosh Chodesh Shvat. That's his Rosh Hashanah Lilanos. Whereas Beis Hillel, he follows Ava. That was always his midah. So he looks at the fact that the Tesvav Tishrei is Sukkot, and that's the time of love between us and Hashem. And so therefore, he looks for 4 months after that. Now it's starting to grow and it's starting to develop, and that's what he focuses on. That's what we daven for the Elon, which is a remiss to the Esrog, which is the kapara for Adam Rishon and Eschet. That's why we daven for it. That's why we turn back to Hashem. Very, very beautiful idea. That really summarizes a lot of beautiful things. Just one quick ara in the 9th parak. So the Mishnah actually, the question is if it's meduik or not. So the Mishnah talks about kind of miscellaneous brachos. Miracles. Omer, what do you say? Now listen, it's missing words. Baruch she'asa nisal l'avosenu makom hazeh. So many Rishonim say that it doesn't say Hashem's name because it doesn't want to make the bracha that way, but it means you say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam she'asa nisam makom hazeh. However, there's a rivet, and I'm sorry. Let me. The Charedim brings this down from Tosis and the Bavli, Daf Nun Daled and Aleph, Torah Beis Yosef. Look at Arachaim, Siman, Reish Yudches, where all these brachos are discussed. So that's the simple meaning. Of course, you say Hashem's name. It's Lav Dafka. Okay. But the Ravid argues, and at least according to Beis Yosef, he says that Berachos Ariyah made on things that you see actually does not. You don't say Hashem's name because these are not obligatory. These are just Thanksgiving, and so that's what the Ravid holds. And L'chora, he might hold that in this Mishnah it's Dafka. It says Baruch Shas Nisan Lavosenu. It doesn't just leave it out because it doesn't want to say Hashem's name, and that really you should fill it in. It left it out on purpose. We'll see as we go further. Hashem, hopefully we'll come back to this. But as you learn the Gemara, certainly even if I forget to come back to it, please keep that in mind because you'll see Rise Lakan Lakan, and it's an interesting Ravid, whether the Yerushalmi is supporting it or not. Hopefully we'll see soon. Have a great day and happy Tu B'Shvat.